Hi there. Thank you, Michael. So, hello, my name is Benjamin Young. I am a cheesemonger at the Fox and the Crow Cheese Shop and Bistro in Fort Collins, Colorado. And for my cheese and cocktail pairing, I picked the Boston Sour with the Prairie Breeze Milton Farmstead Cheddar. Um, so, just a little bit about the Boston Sour. It's basically a whiskey sour, but they do add egg white to kind of give it a little bit more frothiness. And I'm going to show you how to make it right now. So the first part of it is going to be 2 ounces of whiskey. Now it says to use bourbon. I find you can do that, but I actually going to use Tullamore Dew instead. It's an Irish whiskey, but it does have a nice kind of confectionery taste to it, a little bit of that kind of caramel note. And I find that plays really well with a lot of the flavors in this cheddar. So we're going to start off with 2 ounces of that. Next, we're going to have 3 3/4 ounces of lemon juice, and fresh squeezed, of course. And I find that citrus actually goes well with some of the brighter notes in cheddars, especially some that are a little more mild, don't have quite that sharp bite to them. I find that you can bring out some more sweetness with acidic flavors. There is that. And then this one normally calls for a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. I opted to actually use a Meyer lemon jelly with lavender instead. It has quite a bit of sweetness, but a little bit extra baking spice, which I find goes really well with the more savory notes. So we're going to use that instead. And I should mention, this is from Stone Hollow Farmstead. You can see right there. And this is one of my favorite jellies, let alone one of my favorite ingredients. So we're going to add that. And then lastly, this calls for a 1/2 ounce of egg white. Instead of trying to go through a bunch of eggs and separate that out in front of you all, I figured I would do that ahead of time. So we have a little egg white right here. And the purpose of that is to get it to froth up real nicely. It gives it a much better texture. It kind of almost gives you like a meringue whip to it. And then one of the most important parts about making this drink is the dry shake. Now, often they'll tell you you need to shake it first without ice. That's the dry shake. And then shake it with ice after. This kind of gets air whipped into the egg white. I've actually read a little bit about this, and it actually turns out it's almost better to do a reverse dry shake. So we're going to do it with ice first, get it nice and cold, strain it into a different shaker, and dry shake it there to kind of give it a nice whip. And that'll keep the foam there without the ice crushing it. We're going to add our ice. The wet shake is going to only go for maybe 15 to 30 seconds. And then we're going to transfer it into a second shaker. Here we are.
That sounds so good. Just the sound of it.
All right. And we're going to give that a little bit of whip to it. And this you only have to do for maybe 15 seconds, but you really want to get after it. Make sure you get a lot of air into that egg white, and it'll give it a nice frothy texture. All right. And there is your Boston Sour. A little bit hard to see in a glass this size. Normally you put it in a coupe glass. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those. And then the cheese that I ended up pairing this with, the Prairie Breeze. So it's a cheddar with a little bit more kind of sweetness to the end. It's got like almost pineapple acidity to it. So I figured something that was sour but not overpowering would go really well with it. And it turns out that I find I actually get the sweetness of the Meyer lemon actually brings out more savory notes in the cheddar. And so you get this wonderful kind of kaleidoscope where you start off sharp, you kind of move through more savory, buttery notes, and then you actually finish a little bit more tangy and a little bit more acidic. which is, I find, kind of the opposite of the way that a cheddar is supposed to kind of progress. But I really enjoy it.
I really enjoyed that, the fact that you went through the process of explaining to us about the foaming, because that is kind of like a really interesting part of its ability to, you know, to have that look of a cocktail. And that really looked like a real cocktail. So cool, thank you. That looked great.